The vast emptiness of space held many secrets, but none as significant as the day humanity discovered they weren't alone. High above Earth's atmosphere at the International Space Station, astronaut Tom Baker was the first to spot the unusual readings on his instruments. The massive Imperial ship emerged from what appeared to be a tear in space itself. Its dark hull stretched for miles, dwarfing anything humans had ever built. The crew of the space station watched in awe as smaller vessels poured out from its hangar bays, their sleek designs unlike anything in human engineering. Admiral James Miller sat in the Pentagon's war room, surrounded by screens showing the alien vessel from every possible angle. His weathered face remained stern as he watched the live feed from the space station. 25 years of military service hadn't prepared him for this moment. "Sir, they're broadcasting something," reported his communications officer. The message was clear but cold. Primitive species detected. Classification: Level 2 civilization. Recommendation: monitor and contain. The Empire's representatives didn't even bother with direct contact. They simply scanned Earth's technology, labeled humanity as primitive, and moved on to establish a monitoring post on Mars. Their arrogance would prove to be their greatest mistake. But what truly changed everything was what happened next. The Imperial fleet, believing their actions hidden from Earth's primitive detection systems, moved to a nearby star system. There, Admiral Miller and his team watched through their secretly advanced telescopes as the Empire demonstrated its true nature. The peaceful civilization of that system, more advanced than Earth, but less so than the Empire, refused to submit to Imperial rule. The response was swift and merciless. Imperial weapons turned the planet's surface to glass, wiping out billions of lives in mere hours. Miller's hands gripped his chair until his knuckles turned white. "This stops with us," he declared to the silent room. "We won't be next." Within days, representatives from every major nation gathered in a secret facility deep beneath the Swiss Alps. The evidence was presented, and for the first time in human history, all countries agreed on one thing: survival required unity. The Terran Defense Initiative was born that day. On paper, Earth continued its normal activities. Countries still bickered, space programs remained seemingly primitive, and humanity appeared to be decades away from serious space travel. But deep within asteroid belts, inside hollow mountains, and beneath the oceans, humanity prepared. The Empire's own arrogance provided the perfect cover. Their monitoring systems were basic, designed only to watch for obvious signs of advancement. They never bothered to look deeper. Miller stood in one of these secret facilities, watching as engineers worked on reverse-engineered technology from scraps of Imperial tech they'd managed to secretly salvage. "How long?" he asked the lead scientist. 5 years, came the reply. "We'll be ready in 5 years." The Empire continued its occasional flybys of Earth, each time noting in their logs: primitive species showing normal development patterns. No significant advancement detected. They never noticed the quantum communications network humanity had spread throughout the solar system. They missed the growing fleet of ships hidden in the dark sides of distant moons. They failed to detect the weapons being developed specifically to counter their technology. Admiral Miller walked through the underground shipyard, looking up at humanity's first true warship. "They think we're primitive," he said to his second-in-command. "They think we're weak. But they forgot something important about humans." "What's that, sir?" "We learn. We adapt. And most importantly, we remember those who threaten us." The Empire had made their first critical mistake. They had shown humanity what they were capable of, given humans a reason to unite, and then left them alone to prepare. They thought they were watching Earth. They never realized Earth was watching them back. In their arrogance, they had created their own worst nightmare: a humanity united, prepared, and driven by the determination to never become another species erased from existence by Imperial weapons. The clock was ticking, and humanity's fleet was growing stronger each day. Deep within Earth's asteroid belt, hidden shipyards hummed with activity. Commander Robert Stone watched through reinforced windows as massive robotic arms assembled what would become humanity's newest warship. The sight still amazed him, even after 3 years overseeing the operation. "Commander, the new shield tests are ready," reported his assistant, showing him data on a tablet. The shield technology had been humanity's greatest breakthrough. After studying the wreckage of an Imperial scout ship that had accidentally crashed on Mars, Earth's scientists made an incredible discovery. The Empire's weapons all operated on similar energy frequencies, a weakness born from thousands of years of unchallenged supremacy. In the depths of an underground lab in Australia, Dr. Anna Wilson stood before a panel of military leaders. "The shields adapt," she explained, firing a captured Imperial weapon at a small prototype. The shield flickered blue, absorbed the shot, and seemed to grow stronger. Each hit makes them more resistant. The Empire won't know what they're facing until it's too late. While the Empire's watching posts recorded Earth's apparent struggles with basic rocket technology, humanity's true space program accelerated at an unprecedented pace. Entire cities were built inside hollowed-out asteroids. Mining operations, hidden from Imperial sensors by sophisticated cloaking technology, gathered resources throughout the solar system. The Moon's dark side became home to humanity's largest shipyard. Here, Commander Stone supervised the construction of the flagship that would lead Earth's fleet. "How many ships now?" he asked his operations officer. 300 capital ships, sir. 2,000 support vessels, all equipped with the adaptive shields and our new weapon systems." The weapons were another triumph of human ingenuity. Rather than copy Imperial technology, Earth's scientists had gone in a completely different direction. The Empire relied on energy weapons, predictable, powerful, but limited by their own standardization. Humanity developed projectile weapons that combined physical impact with energy fields, creating weapons that could bypass Imperial shields entirely. In a secure facility beneath the Pacific Ocean, military personnel trained in simulators based on observed Imperial tactics. The Empire's rigid, unchanging battle formations, perfected over millennia of victories, were studied, analyzed, and countered. Human crews learned to think differently, to be unpredictable. They expect everyone to fight like them. Commander Stone told his officers during a briefing. "That's why they always win. But we're not going to fight like them. We're going to fight like us." The AI systems integrated into human ships were another advantage the Empire couldn't anticipate. While they relied on strict protocols and chain of command, Earth's vessels would be aided by artificial intelligence that could make split-second decisions and adapt strategies in real time. On Mars, hidden beneath the surface near the Empire's monitoring station, humans built their forward base. Imperial observers regularly reported on the primitive human attempts to establish a small research outpost on the planet's surface. They never detected the vast network of tunnels and facilities that lay beneath. Commander Stone stood in the control room of the flagship, now nearly complete. The massive vessel had been named Defender, a simple name hiding its lethal capabilities. Through the viewport, he could see dozens of other ships in various stages of construction. "Sir," his communication officer called out, "we're receiving reports. The Empire is mobilizing near the Mars sector." Stone's expression hardened. "They're finally making their move. Are we ready?" The response came from multiple stations around him. "Weapons, ready. Shields, ready. Crews, ready." The years of preparation were about to be put to the test. "Send the alert to all facilities," Stone ordered, "but maintain normal activity patterns on Earth. Let them think we're still playing with rockets and satellites." As the alert went out through quantum channels undetectable to Imperial sensors, humanity's hidden fleet began powering up their systems. The Empire thought they were about to subjugate another primitive species. Instead, they were about to wake a sleeping giant. The time for hiding was almost over. Soon, the Empire would learn just how badly they had underestimated humanity. The Imperial warships descended on Mars with the confidence of predators who had never known defeat. Their massive vessels cast shadows over the small human research station on the planet's surface. Captain Rex of the Imperial flagship Dominion allowed himself a small smile. Another routine subjugation. "Send the standard surrender message," he ordered. "Give them 1 hour to submit." Below, in the primitive human outpost, soldiers and scientists appeared to panic, running around in seemingly chaotic patterns. The Imperial observers watched with amusement. It was always the same with lesser species. What they didn't realize was that every panicked movement was choreographed, every scrambling figure part of a carefully planned show. Deep beneath the Martian surface, Commander Stone settled into his command chair aboard the Defender. "All ships report ready," his tactical officer announced. "Imperial forces are exactly where we predicted they'd be." The hour passed quickly. The Imperial ships positioned themselves in their standard attack formation, a formation humans had studied and countered in thousands of simulations. "They're firing their first warning shot," reported Stone's sensor officer. The Imperial beam weapon struck the human outpost, or seemed to. In reality, it hit the first layer of humanity's new shield technology. To Imperial sensors, it looked like a devastating blow. To the humans, it was barely a tap. "Signal the fleet," Stone ordered. "Execute Operation Surprise." The Martian surface erupted. Hidden doors in the red soil slid open, revealing launch bays that had been disguised as natural formations. Human warships rose from their underground hangars, their adaptive shields already powered up. Captain Rex stood from his command chair, his alien features showing shock for the first time in his career. Impossible. Their technology level was confirmed just days ago. The first volley from the human ships revealed just how wrong the Empire had been. Kinetic rounds wrapped in energy fields smashed through Imperial shields designed to stop energy weapons. The Dominion shuddered as impacts rocked its hull. "Their weapons, they're not standard," Rex shouted. "Evasive maneuvers. Call for reinforcements." But the human fleet had already executed a perfect encirclement, another tactic the Empire had never encountered. Their rigid formation, so effective against conventional opponents, became a trap. Multiple Imperial ships show critical damage. Stone's tactical officer reported. "They're trying to regroup, but their formation is breaking." The Empire's most basic assumptions worked against them. They had expected simple projectile weapons or crude energy beams. Instead, they faced technology specifically designed to counter their every advantage. Stone watched as the Imperial ships attempted to adjust their shields. "They're trying to adapt," he noted, "but they can't. Their systems are too standardized. All ships, commence secondary attack pattern." Human vessels moved with a fluidity that confused the Imperial targeting systems. Each ship's AI calculated optimal firing solutions in real time, coordinating with the entire fleet to create a devastating web of fire. "Sir," an Imperial officer called out to Captain Rex, "their shields are absorbing our weapons fire. They're getting stronger with each hit." Rex stared in disbelief as his fleet's most powerful weapons seemed to make the human ships more resistant. Decades of Imperial tactical doctrine proved useless against an enemy that refused to fight according to the established rules of space warfare. "Retreat," Rex finally ordered, his pride shattered. "All ships, emergency withdrawal." The surviving Imperial ships fled, their once perfect formation in shambles. They left behind destroyed vessels and shattered assumptions about humanity's capabilities. In his command chair, Stone allowed himself a small smile. "Send word to Earth. Phase 1 is complete. The Empire will be back, and in greater numbers, but now they know we're not as primitive as they thought." The human fleet moved to secure the space around Mars, ready for the inevitable Imperial counterattack. But now the advantage of surprise was gone, replaced by something perhaps more valuable: the Empire's fear of the unknown. They had come expecting to find primitives playing with rockets. Instead, they had found their worst nightmare: an enemy who had studied them, prepared for them, and learned how to beat them at their own game. The real war was about to begin. The Imperial High Command erupted in chaos as the reports from Mars reached their capital. For the first time in 1,000 years, an Imperial fleet had been forced to retreat. Even worse, it had been defeated by a species they had classified as primitive. General Marcus of Earth's Fleet Command stood before a massive holographic display showing human ships emerging from hidden bases throughout the solar system. Like a vast swarm awakening, vessels of all sizes appeared from asteroid bases, oceanic depths, and underground bunkers. The time for hiding is over, Marcus announced to his gathered officers. The Empire now knows we exist. They know we can fight. What they don't know is how many of us there are. Captain Lisa Anderson, commanding the advanced striker Swift Justice, led her battle group out of Jupiter's shadow. Her ship represented humanity's perfect blend of speed and firepower, designed for the hit-and-run tactics that confused Imperial forces. "All ships, form up," she ordered. "The Empire will hit us with everything they have. We need to be ready." The Imperial response came faster than expected. Multiple fleets dropped out of faster-than-light travel at the edges of the solar system. Their numbers were staggering. Thousands of ships, ranging from massive dreadnoughts to swarms of fighters. But humanity had prepared for this moment. As Imperial ships advanced in their traditional arrowhead formations, human vessels scattered in seemingly random patterns. To Imperial commanders, it looked like chaos. In reality, it was a carefully choreographed dance. "They still don't understand," Anderson remarked as she watched the Imperial fleet's movements. "They think numbers alone will win this fight." The human fleet's AI systems coordinated their movements with precision impossible for organic crews alone. Ships wove complex patterns through space, making it impossible for Imperial gunners to lock onto targets. When they did score hits, the adaptive shields only grew stronger. New reading from the Empire's flagship, Anderson's sensor officer reported. "They're charging their main weapon. The Empire's prize weapon, a planet killer beam that had ended countless civilizations, lashed out at Earth's fleet. It was their ultimate show of force, meant to end resistance with one devastating strike. Instead, the beam met a wall of specially designed shields. Dozens of human ships linked their defense systems, creating a barrier that not only stopped the weapon but reflected its energy back at the Imperial fleet. "By the stars," an Imperial commander exclaimed. "How is this possible? Their technology was primitive just months ago." The truth dawned on the Empire too late. Humanity hadn't developed this technology in months. They had spent years preparing, watching, learning, and building. Every Imperial tactic, every weapon, every strategy had been studied and countered. Anderson's strike group demonstrated this perfectly. Her ships darted between larger Imperial vessels, their hybrid weapons tearing through shields designed to stop pure energy weapons. The Empire's rigid command structure couldn't adapt fast enough to these fluid tactics. "Multiple Imperial capital ships are breaking formation," reported Anderson's tactical officer. "They're trying to regroup, but our attacks are forcing them to scatter." The Empire had never faced an enemy that fought like this. Their millennia of victory had been based on overwhelming force and superior technology. Now they faced an opponent who had turned their own strengths into weaknesses. General Marcus watched from Earth as the battle unfolded across the solar system. "Send in the second wave," he ordered. "Let's show them what humanity can really do." More ships emerged from hiding, each equipped with weapons and defenses specifically designed to counter Imperial technology. The Empire's numerical advantage meant little against an enemy that could neutralize their weapons and bypass their shields. "They're retreating again," Anderson announced as the Imperial fleet began to withdraw. "But this time they know. They know we're not just defending. We can hurt them." The Empire's worst nightmare had come true. They hadn't found a primitive species to conquer. They had awakened a sleeping giant, one that had spent years preparing for this very moment. As the Imperial ships fled, humanity's fleet took up defensive positions around Earth. The real war was just beginning, and humanity was ready. 3 days after the Empire's retreat from the solar system, humanity took the fight to enemy territory. The human fleet, led by General Marcus aboard the Defender, jumped into the Empire's frontier systems using their own version of faster-than-light travel. The Imperial border defenses never saw them coming. Human ships appeared inside their defensive lines, their advanced stealth systems making them nearly invisible until they opened fire. Status report on the Imperial response. Marcus called out from his command chair. "They're trying to form up in standard combat formations," his tactical officer replied. "Just as predicted, sir. They don't know how to fight any other way." The Empire's military had spent thousands of years perfecting their tactics. Now those same tactics had become a predictable weakness. Human ships broke into smaller groups, attacking from multiple angles, their AI systems coordinating strikes with impossible precision. In the Centauri sector, Captain Anderson's strike group demonstrated why humanity's approach to space combat had changed everything. Her ships danced through Imperial formations, their adaptive shields shrugging off attacks while their hybrid weapons tore through enemy defenses. "Look at their flight patterns," Anderson pointed out to her crew. "They're still trying to fight like it's a naval battle in space. They haven't learned." The Empire's ships moved in rigid lines and blocks, their commanders following battle plans that hadn't changed in centuries. Human vessels, in contrast, fought in 3 dimensions, using space itself as a weapon. They accelerated around stars, used planets for gravitational slingshots, and emerged from the dark sides of moons to launch surprise attacks. On an Imperial command ship, Admiral Voss watched in growing horror as another defensive line crumbled. How are they doing this? Their tactics make no sense. But they did make sense, to humans. While the Empire had spent millennia becoming set in their ways, humanity had spent years studying every form of combat in their history. Space battles became a blend of aerial dogfighting, submarine warfare, and guerrilla tactics. Multiple Imperial worlds are requesting assistance, Marcus's communications officer reported. Their defense fleets are in chaos. The Empire's rigid command structure was working against them. Local commanders waited for orders from their superiors, following protocols that had never considered an enemy like humanity. By the time orders came through, human ships had already moved on to new targets. Anderson's strike group demonstrated this perfectly as they hit an Imperial shipyard. "All ships, execute attack pattern Delta," she ordered. Her vessels split into smaller groups, each targeting specific weaknesses in the Imperial defenses. Before the shipyard's commanders could even request instructions from their superiors, the facility was crippled. "Imperial reinforcements incoming," Anderson's sensor officer called out. They're breaking off. They're retreating without engaging." This was something new. Imperial ships were beginning to avoid combat with human vessels. The psychological impact of humanity's technological and tactical superiority was spreading through the Empire's military. Back in the main battle, General Marcus received an unexpected message. "Sir, we're getting transmissions from several Imperial worlds. They're asking for protection. From their own government." The Empire's iron grip on its territories was slipping. Worlds that had suffered under Imperial rule saw humanity not as conquerors, but as liberators. They had watched human ships disable rather than destroy when possible, protect civilian targets, and demonstrate a way of fighting that wasn't based on brute force alone. "Accept their requests," Marcus ordered. "Show them there's a better way than the Empire's rule." As human ships moved to protect these defecting worlds, the Empire's response became increasingly desperate. They launched larger and larger fleets, only to see them outmaneuvered and defeated by smaller, more agile human forces. The tide wasn't just turning. It had become a flood. Humanity's carefully planned revolution in space warfare was reshaping the galaxy. The Empire's millennium of unopposed dominance was ending, not with a desperate last stand, but with the steady collapse of everything they had built. And this was only the beginning. Word of humanity's victory spread through the Empire's territories like wildfire. Every defeat of the once invincible Imperial fleet sparked more rebellion. The Empire's grip on power began crumbling from within. Admiral Miller stood on the bridge of Retribution, watching holographic displays showing the status of multiple systems. Red markers indicating Imperial control were rapidly changing to green as world after world declared independence. Another uprising on Proxima II. His intelligence officer reported, "The local garrison has surrendered to the population. They're requesting our protection." The Empire's iron discipline was breaking down. Centuries of oppression had created a powder keg of resentment, and humanity's success had lit the fuse. Imperial military units began defecting, taking their ships and knowledge with them. In the Orient sector, an entire Imperial battle group surrendered to Captain Anderson's forces without firing a shot. Their commander, a grizzled veteran of countless campaigns, explained why. "We've watched you fight," he told Anderson during the surrender. "You could have destroyed us all, but you chose to disable, to protect civilians, to show mercy. The Empire never taught us that was possible." The human diplomatic corps worked tirelessly, offering protection and alliance to any world that rejected imperial rule. They didn't demand submission, only cooperation and peace. This approach shocked worlds used to imperial demands for absolute obedience. 3 more systems have joined the alliance, reported Earth's diplomatic chief. They're sharing imperial defense codes, communication protocols, everything they have. The Empire's response grew increasingly desperate. They began destroying their own worlds, rather than let them fall to human influence. This only accelerated their collapse, as more Imperial commanders refused to carry out such orders. Admiral Miller led the push toward the Imperial core worlds, but his fleet's greatest weapon wasn't its advanced technology. It was hope. Every world they passed saw the possibility of freedom from Imperial rule. Multiple Imperial dreadnoughts approaching, his tactical officer announced. "They're fighting each other. Sir, it looks like part of their fleet is trying to defect." The Empire's military structure, once its greatest strength, had become a fatal weakness. Units trained to obey without question now questioned everything. The rigid chain of command shattered as different factions chose different sides. On 1,000 worlds, populations rose up against their imperial governors. The Empire's response was predictably brutal, but now they faced an enemy on every front, within and without. New reports from the core worlds, Miller's intelligence officer called out, "The Imperial Senate is in chaos. Several houses are calling for the Emperor's abdication." The Empire had never faced this kind of warfare before. They could handle rebellion. They'd crushed countless uprisings. But this was different. Humanity wasn't just fighting their military. They were offering a better way of life. Another transmission from the Imperial capital, the communications officer reported. More noble houses are pledging support to the rebellion. They're calling for immediate reform. The Empire's structure began collapsing faster than anyone had predicted. Centuries of oppression and rigid control had created an empire of glass, powerful-looking but brittle. Once the first cracks appeared, the whole structure began to shatter. Miller watched as another Imperial fleet approached his position. Their formation was ragged, uncertain. Many of their ships showed battle damage, not from human weapons, but from fighting their own kind. They're broadcasting surrender signals, his tactical officer announced. All of them. They're requesting asylum. The Empire's worst nightmare had come true, but not in the way they had expected. They had feared humanity's military might, but it was humanity's ideas that truly defeated them. The concept that power didn't require cruelty, that strength didn't mean subjugation, spread through their realm like a virus they couldn't stop. As Miller's fleet pushed deeper into Imperial space, they found less and less resistance. The Empire wasn't being conquered, it was imploding, torn apart by its own weight. The end was approaching, but not the end humanity's enemies had feared. A new galaxy was being born, not from the ashes of total war, but from the hope of something better. The final battle was coming, but its outcome was already decided. The Imperial capital world hung in space like a jewel, its surface glittering with the lights of a civilization that had ruled the galaxy for 1,000 years. Now, that rule was about to end. Admiral Miller stood on the bridge of Defender, leading the combined fleet of human and former Imperial ships. The scene before him would have been unimaginable just months ago. Vessels that once fought each other now flew side by side. The Emperor's forces have taken defensive positions around the capital, his tactical officer reported, but half their fleet has already declared neutrality. The final battle for the Empire's fate wasn't fought with planet-killing weapons or massive fleets. Instead, it began with a simple message, broadcast on all frequencies in every language of the galaxy. We come not to destroy, but to rebuild. Not to conquer, but to free. The choice is yours. On the capital world, centuries of Imperial control crumbled in hours. The population, inspired by stories of human mercy and justice, rose up. Imperial guards threw down their weapons. Palace staff opened the gates. "Sir," called out Miller's communications officer, "the Imperial Senate is broadcasting. They'd voted to remove the Emperor. They're requesting our presence to oversee the transition." The Emperor, faced with the collapse of everything he had ruled, made one final attempt to maintain power. He ordered the activation of a doomsday device hidden beneath the capital, a weapon capable of destroying the entire system. But even this failed. His own guards, inspired by humanity's example, refused the order. For the first time in Imperial history, soldiers chose conscience over blind obedience. "The Imperial Palace has surrendered," announced Miller's second-in-command. "The Emperor is in custody, held by his own people." The transition happened faster than anyone expected. Representatives from Earth met with leaders from former Imperial worlds in the Grand Senate chamber, where once the Empire had demanded submission. Now there was discussion, cooperation, and hope. Captain Anderson, who had fought so many battles to reach this point, watched from her ship as celebrations erupted across the capital world. "Never thought I'd see Imperial citizens dancing in the streets," she remarked to her crew. The formation of the Galactic Federation began immediately. Earth took a leading role, but not as conquerors. Instead, they became teachers, showing other worlds how to govern themselves, how to build without destroying, how to be strong without being cruel. "The First Federation Council is ready to convene," announced the human diplomatic chief. Representatives from 1,000 worlds gathered in the former Imperial Senate chamber, each with an equal voice in their shared future. Admiral Miller stood before them, his uniform now bearing the new Federation insignia. "The Empire ruled through fear," he told the assembled delegates. "We will lead through hope." They demanded obedience. "We ask for cooperation." They sought to conquer the galaxy. "We seek to unite it." The changes spread rapidly. Imperial technology, once used for control and destruction, was repurposed for exploration and growth. The rigid military structure that had enforced Imperial will was transformed into a peacekeeping force, protecting the weak rather than oppressing them. Another group of worlds requesting Federation membership, reported a diplomatic officer. The Empire's former territories weren't being conquered. They were choosing to join, attracted by the promise of freedom and protection. The nightmare that had haunted the Empire for so long had come true, but not as they had feared. Humanity hadn't destroyed their civilization. They had transformed it. The very qualities the Empire had dismissed as weakness, mercy, cooperation, adaptability, had proven to be humanity's greatest strengths. As the first day of the new Federation drew to a close, Miller stood at a viewport on his ship, watching ships from 100 worlds moving peacefully through the capital's space lanes. "Ready to head home, sir?" his executive officer asked. Miller shook his head, smiling. "No need. We're all home now. The galaxy is home for all of us." The Empire's worst nightmare had become everyone else's greatest dream. A galaxy united not by force, but by choice. A new dawn had arrived, and its light would shine for generations to come. The end.